In the very center of New York City, where skyscrapers are piercing the clouds and the pulse of urban life is throbbing through its streets, there is a story that is timeless. It is a story that is woven from the threads of heroism, tragedy, and the unconquerable spirit of resilience. During the summer of 1945, imagine a morning that was thick with fog. The skyline of the city disappeared into the mist, which obscured the path of an aircraft that was undertaking a routine mission. Lieutenant Colonel William Franklin Smith, Jr. had no idea that fate had his sights set on him. He was completely unaware of this fact. A city is left shaken to its very foundations as a result of the events that follow, which are a riveting story about fate colliding with catastrophe. In what mysterious way did these forces work together to bring about the destruction of this aircraft? Is it possible that New York City was able to emerge from the devastation stronger and more resilient than it had ever been? And most importantly, what ageless truths are already concealed within the mist of history, just waiting to be brought to light? In the morning of July 28, 1945, when the fog was thick, a routine personnel transport mission took off. This was the beginning of everything. Under the control of a B-25 Mitchell bomber is Lieutenant Colonel William Franklin Smith, Jr., a seasoned pilot who hails from Watertown, Massachusetts. He is currently in command of the aircraft. They have a straightforward mission, which begins at Bedford Army Airfield in Massachusetts, which is to transport personnel to their destination in a secure manner. In spite of this, Lieutenant Colonel Smith feels the weight of uncertainty pressing down on him as the aircraft climbs higher into the fog-covered sky. Because of the thick fog that covers the landscape, visibility is obscured, and they are uncertain about the path that they had intended to take. In spite of this, Lieutenant Colonel Smith prepares himself for the journey that lies ahead by way of a resolute determination that has been cultivated through years of training and experience. As the B-25 Mitchell bomber travels through the airspace above New York City, Lieutenant Colonel Smith is forced to face the harsh reality of having no visibility. An impenetrable layer of fog prevents them from reaching their intended destination, which is LaGuardia Airport, which is located beyond their reach. It is at this crucial juncture that Lieutenant Colonel Smith makes the decision to change course and direct their attention towards Newark Metropolitan Airport, which is located in the state of New Jersey. The dense fog, on the other hand, proves to be a formidable foe, which raises questions about their capacity to navigate through the urban landscape below in a secure manner. The determination of Lieutenant Colonel Smith is put to the test as the Chrysler Building looms menacingly in the mist, and the fate of the crew hangs precariously in the balance as a result of this. A tragedy occurs at 9:40 in the morning, and its impact is so strong that it reverberates throughout the city. When the B-25 Mitchell bomber, which was engulfed in a cloak of fog-induced disorientation, collides with the north side of the Empire State Building, the results are catastrophic. The impact is so devastating that it rips through the steel and concrete facade of the towering skyscraper, sending shockwaves of destruction rippling through the structure. The upper floors are completely engulfed in flames, which cast an eerie glow against the backdrop of the atmosphere that is thick with fog. The magnitude of the catastrophe that is unfolding in front of them makes it difficult for the heroic efforts of those who are responding to the emergency to be successful. In the midst of the mayhem, lives are in jeopardy, and the fate of those who are trapped within the twisted wreckage is still unknown. Before we continue, it would be helpful if you could support our growing channel by subscribing and liking this video. In its wake, the aftermath of the crash left a trail of destruction and anguish for those who were affected by it. Search teams labored tirelessly in the days that followed the tragedy, searching through the debris for any indications of survivors or remains that might have been there. After falling into a lift shaft and coming to rest at the bottom, the body of Navy aviation machinist mate Albert Perna was not found until 2 days later. He had fallen into the shaft and been there for some time. Stories of bravery and survival emerged in the midst of the chaos and despair that was occurring. As she fell towards the ground, lift operator Betty Lou Oliver was ejected from her lift car on the 80th floor. She sustained severe burns as she fell to the ground. Despite the fact that she was cushioned by the air that was created by the falling lift car within the shaft, she miraculously survived the fall. Betty Lou Oliver's survival against all odds, despite the fact that she had suffered serious injuries, served as a beacon of hope in the midst of the darkness that was caused by the tragedy. The crash of the B-25 aircraft that crashed into the Empire State Building left an indelible mark not only on the city of New York, but also on the collective consciousness of the nation. Moreover, it served as a sobering reminder of the unpredictability and unforgiving nature of aviation, as well as the significance of being prepared and vigilant in the face of unanticipated tragedy. During the time that the city was grieving the loss of lives and beginning the difficult process of rebuilding, the memory of those who had lost their lives in the crash continued to live on, and it was permanently etched into the annals of history. Despite the devastation that was caused by the crash of the Empire State Building B-25, the resilient spirit of New York City prevailed, and the iconic skyscraper reopened for business on many floors less than 48 hours after the tragic event. As a result of the prompt cleanup efforts, debris was removed, which enabled the building to resume its operations and serve as a symbol of resilience in the face of adversity. Armand Hammer, a prominent businessman, took advantage of the opportunity to transform the damaged 78th floor into the headquarters of his company, United Distillers of America. This remarkable display of determination was just one example of Hammer's remarkable determination. Hammer rehabilitated the floor with unyielding determination, transforming it into a symbol of the city's capacity to grow and prosper in spite of the calamity that has befallen it. The crash of the B-25 aircraft in the Empire State Building also resulted in a significant legislative change, which was the passage of the Federal Tort Claims Act, which had been in the works for a long time. This historic piece of legislation, which was signed into law by President Harry S. Truman in August 1946, implemented retroactive provisions that made it possible for individuals to file lawsuits against the government for damages that they had sustained as a result of the accident. A significant step towards ensuring accountability and justice for those who were impacted by the crash was the passage of the Federal Tort Claims Act, which made it possible for individuals to seek restitution for their losses through the legal system. A mere 4 days before the first anniversary of the crash on July 24, 1946, the specter of tragedy loomed once again on the horizon. This was because the crash had occurred only 4 days earlier. On this ominous day, another aircraft came dangerously close to colliding with the Empire State Building, which caused shock waves to travel throughout the city and reignited fears of additional catastrophe. Workers and tourists alike were startled by the unidentified twin-engine plane that flew dangerously close to the 68th floor of the towering skyscraper. The plane was devoid of any military insignia and was flying in a dangerous manner. Despite the fact that a catastrophe was narrowly avoided on this particular occasion, the incident served as a stark reminder of the precarious nature of life and the ever-present specter of tragedy that loomed over the city. The events that transpired during the crash of the B-25 aircraft into the Empire State Building captivated the imagination of the general public and garnered a great deal of attention in the years that followed. An episode of the documentary series, Disasters of the Century, that aired on the History Channel in 2001 was titled, "It Came from the Sky," and it focused on the tragic events that occurred as a result of the flight that was doomed to fail, and the tragic consequences that followed. The documentary shed light on the events that led up to the crash, the heroic efforts of first responders, and the lasting legacy that the tragedy has left on the city of New York and beyond through the use of compelling storytelling and footage from archives. A powerful reminder of the human cost of disaster and the resiliency of those who endured its aftermath, the documentary served as a poignant reminder of the story by bringing it to a wider audience. Throughout the annals of history, the crash of the B-25 aircraft that crashed into the Empire State Building continues to serve as a somber reminder of the unpredictability of life and the resiliency of the human spirit. The Empire State Building has emerged as a symbol of strength and resilience, standing tall against the backdrop of the skyline as a testament to the city's ability to triumph over adversity. This is despite the tragedy that occurred and the loss of life that occurred. In New York City, tragedy is transformed into triumph through legislative action, cultural commemoration, and the unyielding spirit of its people. This ensures that the memory of those who were lost in the crash will never be forgotten. If this piqued your curiosity, hit that like button, share it with your friends to spread the knowledge, and don't forget to subscribe for more intriguing insights. Together, we learn from the past to build a safer future.